Hello and welcome to the latest United Hangout, this featuring the club doctor Steve McNally, first team coach Kieran McKenna and strength and conditioning coach Charlie Owen. Welcome along, guys. Before we ask you a few questions about what you've been up to and how you're keeping our players fit and ready to go once we get back into action, let's find out how you've been doing during lockdown. First, to Steve. How's your day-to-day been, Steve?
Day to day, I'm still the only one who comes into Carrington to ATC every now and then. So I can use that as a base to make some important calls in the morning with the execs and the senior managers, which obviously gives me a flavour of what's going on in the club in general. I can then pass that on to the manager, coaches, members of my staff. Then I've usually got a few jobs to pick up off the back of that. I'll get odd jobs to do from the players during the day, and then I've got all I need here to sort of deal with those, things like distributing medications to them, getting bits of kit out, equipment if the fitness lads want something to go out. So keeps me pretty busy, and then I've got a bit of time to catch up on projects and things that we've had on the back burner for quite a long time.
But a strange place the Aon Training Complex must be with no one there.
It's quite eerie, actually. For the first week or so, it wasn't too bad because you got a bit of peace and quiet for once. But it's starting to wear a bit thin now, and you know what it's like. It's a buzzing place, very busy 24/7 normally.
Ordinarily,
it's really, really quiet and strange.
Yeah, definitely. And Kieran, obviously, you are very much an integral part of what's going on day to day down at the Aon Training Complex. What's life like for you at home at the moment with your young family?
Yeah, it's strange. It has its benefits, but yeah, like everybody else, just trying to work from home. Usually start the day with the Joe Wicks PE class with my two little ones. But once I've got that out of the way, it's speaking to the other coaching staff and to Ollie and speaking to the players. A lot of analytical work going on behind the scenes with watching video and liaising with Charlie and the other fitness staff on that side of things. So. Yeah, it's a busy day. Obviously, very different working from home, but trying to keep going in as productive a way as we possibly can.
I guess on the flip side, you get to spend time with the kids, and that's not always the case when the fixture list and the football season is such a busy one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that's obviously the case for all of us. But yeah, myself having two young kids, it's a complete flip at the moment to have so much time at home with it being used to traveling so much. So. That's really nice. Obviously, it's nice for the wife, hopefully, and certainly the kids seem to be enjoying having their daddy around a bit more. So that's an added, definitely a bonus at the moment, and we're enjoying that family time and making sure that we relish it when we have the chance.
Yeah, brilliant, great to hear, Charlie. What's it like for you? What you up to? I know we're going to talk about you giving the players their routines and training the players, but what's it like outside of that? What are you up to keep yourself busy?
Well, that is the main thing, really. I'm trying to be in sort of daily contact with most of the players, planning the sort of day's work and the week's work for those boys. And then it's just obviously liaising and linking in with the other staff in the department, linking in with Kieran and the coaching staff. And like the doc said, sort of working on sort of some longer term projects that we might have had as a department or a club, really. So keeping myself busy and working from home,
Yeah, which is all we can do in this strange time, isn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a big challenge, isn't it, for all of you? I mean, Charlie, we've seen some videos of you giving the players some routines. What's it like trying to come up with routines and trying to give players things to do which keeps them fit, keeps them motivated to do the fitness and make sure they're ready for when they return?
Yeah, it's challenging, that's for sure. It's one of the biggest challenges really is sort of equipment. Obviously, the players are training from home. They've got a whole host of either a lot of stuff or no stuff at all. So it's trying to give them almost like a menu of work that they can select from, whether they've got treadmills, whether they're out running on the grass or running on the road. So it's trying to give them a varied menu of work that they can choose from, keep things fresh, keep things sort of engaging, trying to stay in touch with them and contact with them through different forms of sort of social media or text or WhatsApp groups, and just keeping them engaged, really, trying to change things up every couple of weeks.
And I guess doing the fitness is one thing. Kieran, your specialty is working with a ball. working on team shape, on tactics, you know, that's something you can't do. How frustrating is it you can't do what you love to do?
Yeah, obviously as a coach, you miss that time on the grass, and you miss that one-on-one and contact with the players and with the team. So that's obviously something that we can't do at the moment. But you know, it's not the biggest priority at the moment. The big priority is obviously the players are keeping safe and well, and having the time at home with their families. Beyond that, it's important that they keep on top of their physical side, and you know, that's largely been done in coordination with the fitness coaches, who've been doing a terrific job, and obviously the boys have been doing really well with that as well. So I think that's the main priorities at the moment. And in terms of, you know, working with the players on the technical or tactical side, there's a few little bits that we're able to do with video and things like that. But you know, we know that we'll have plenty of time to resume with that and get going when the time is right.
Yeah, certainly will. And we're lucky to have a medical professional with us at the moment in this strange time in the world. And Steve, it is such a bizarre time in the world, isn't it? You've been with the club. Remind us how long you've been with the club now, Steve?
14 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, long time servant at the club, and this is a unique situation. As a medical professional, what challenges does it give you?
There's a number of ways of looking at it, really. I think there's some benefits as well as the problems that we're having to sort of, or the challenges that we're having to face. If you look on the positive side, players don't normally get this opportunity to recharge, to refresh, to reinvigorate at the stage of the season we were at. I think we felt we were getting to a point where all the hard work that had gone in from the beginning of July, really, even before then with the planning, was starting to come to fruition. So it's a bit of a frustration for us as a team and a club and a squad to have to sort of suddenly stop it in its tracks. But if you just flip it, that it's an off season. You know, I think last season a lot of the boys had probably the longest off season they'd had from a year. I think it was 9 weeks from our last game against Cardiff to when we played in Perth. And you know, we're 5 weeks into it now. So if we adopt that same sort of mentality of allowing them a bit of time to refresh and reinvigorate and do the sort of things that Kieran was saying there, you know, a lot of our boys have got young children at home. They'll never get that chance again in their careers. So take the positives from that side of things. Medically, obviously, it's difficult for me to manage patients without hands-on or face-to-face. Fortunately, most of the boys have been well. There's been no big issues at all. We're not getting injuries, fortunately. Although there's been a few, you know, unusual complaints because of things like trying the hand at cooking or being bitten by the dog, you know, that type of thing. So it's just a different focus. But it's also been interesting just to see how sort of self-sufficient and self-managing they've become really over the last few weeks. They've got a big team around them at ATC, and when we're on the road and, you know, we all want to do our bit to help them, they're on their own a little bit now. And I've been really pleased and quite proud of them, really, the way they've got on with it. I'm tending not to be chasing them. As I say, I'm here for when they're not right, when they're unwell, when they're injured. Charlie and Kieran are there for when they're well and ready to work, and they all are at the moment. So they know they can get me when they want me. And you know, I've done a few things for most of them over the course of the last 2-3 weeks. But generally, it's been a pretty positive experience up to now. We've just got to try and see how we go through the next phase, and then, you know, where that takes us. And by and large, that's out of our hands at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kieran, Steve's mentioned there, you know, it's like a pre-season, albeit this one, we don't have an end goal. We don't have a date in the future at the moment where we're all working towards. So how do you kind of cope with what you're trying to do, given that there is no specific goal or end date? Yeah,
it's obviously, you know, it's changing for everyone at the moment, and we just have to wait for the government guidelines and wait for the all clear for some of the restrictions to be loosened. So all we can do at the moment is obviously maintain the players to a certain physical level. We don't need them to push too hard at the moment. It's about maintaining the level somewhere close to where they left off. And beyond that, really, it's just preparing some hypothetical situations that may occur. So we know that we may come back into a situation where we have a smallish window of a few weeks training and then going into quite an intense period of games. That's one possible situation. So we're preparing for that. We're discussing what what the build up to that would look like, both before they returned to the training ground and then when they did return. We're looking at things hypothetically that if we were to return to some sort of training, but maybe with some social distancing guidelines in place and in smaller groups, what that would look like and what we would look to get out of that sort of training. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of unknown at the moment, so it's just trying to prepare, for what situations may arise, so that when the changes do come, we're prepared as best we can, and I say we can get the work in that we need to.
I think the fans will really enjoy hearing that, knowing that there's so much thought going in to planning ahead and what might happen in certain scenarios. They also have heard plenty of our players speaking recently, Charlie, about their different fitness regimes, their different programs. So how important is it, and what sort of things have you done to ensure each player has tailored fitness regimes and routines that they can work on at home?
It's like any time really. It's not. We're trying to do it as similar as we would do when we're back at Carrington. Every player will have their own individual programs, certain things that they need to work on. Obviously, we're limited at times with equipment, like I said before. But it's not too dissimilar. We try and stay as close to how we would program and how we would work at Carrington. Players know what they need to work on. We've been working on certain things with them since July, so we try and not sort of move too far away from that if we can.
But usually you'll be working on getting players match fit or getting them ready for a game. How does it differ at the moment?
Yeah, that is different. It's challenging. What we've tried to do is sort of split the program up into sort of 2-week chunks. So it's obviously totally different to normally preparing every week for a game or 2 games a week, So we're trying to split it into sort of manageable, more bite-sized chunks. So we're going in every 2 weeks at the moment. And then that's keeping sort of things sort of stimulated and fresh for the players. We try and give them a sort of a focus or a different physical theme for each 2 weeks that they can work towards. Set them challenges, set them targets, and keep them sort of engaged that way really.
So physical fitness is something people can very much take care of at home, and you mentioned your kids doing the Joe Wicks program, Kieran. Mine niece Aoife and nephew's Killian Aoife, they do that as well. They love doing that in the morning. It's a great way to start the day. But Doc, what about mental fitness and making sure that mentally people are looked after? Because that is mental health was a huge issue in football, not in football, but in society anyway, coming into this. And is it even more prevalent now, do you feel?
I think it could become that way the longer it goes on, but for some it might be, again, a bit of respite, a bit of relief from the constant scrutiny, particularly the scrutiny our players get at this football club. So I think for a few it will have been a welcome break from that. But they thrive on those challenges of competition. They're all competitors by nature, individually, collectively as a group, even more so. Training every day is very competitive. They'll be missing that daily banter with the lads on the training field and the positivity that comes out of that. And I know they'll be doing it in their social media groups and WhatsApp groups in the background, but it's not the same as doing it on the pitch or in the gym. There are different circumstances. There'll be some boys on their own. There'll be some with extended family around them, some preoccupied with young children. So there's distractions there that may help some, but others may have a lot of time to kill. We thought about this as we knew we were going to go into lockdown, and we put together a package for them that gave them a number of resources that they can tap into if they wanted, just to see how they cope with it. And we've not been very heavy on trying to sort of analyze them every day and get them too preoccupied with those things. We want positivity. We don't want them to feel as though they should be having mental health issues, but obviously we're very vigilant as a staff generally. I'll pick up on little clues. Charlie might do it on his daily sessions or the compliance with them. Kieran will pick up on things, and we do talk to each other as a staff and just have a look out for one or two lads, depending on our gut feel and our knowledge of them as individuals. So yeah, it's an important thing. I think if things go as we hope and we can get back to some sort of group training at ATC in the next month or two, then that'll be a positive thing. But the longer it goes on, we may have to be a bit more proactive on the mental health side.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you are in contact a lot, Kieran. So just how regularly are you all in contact as a staff and with the players?
Yeah, very regularly. I say it's important for everyone in society at the moment to keep them connections. So, as a staff, I say we're used to spending so much time together. So, it's nice flipping that and seeing a bit more time with the families, and we also try and respect each other's, space a little bit as a coaching staff. But we're speaking almost probably on a daily basis with texts and phone calls and sending videos through, and we've tended to have a bigger sort of coaching staff video meeting once a week as well. With players, I think there's contact going on, all the time, be it from Charlie or myself or the doctor, or I know Ollie and Michael and Mick are speaking to the players, and Martin as well, speaking to them individually. So I think it's important they feel that sense of connection. And, I think they're getting that in a lot of different ways, be that through the different social media avenues. And I've tried to ring quite a few, and especially ring a few of the younger boys and make sure they're okay, and try and stop Brandon Williams from tackling his dog on a regular basis.
Poor Brandon's dog. We know how Brandon can tackle. But the players are lucky. They're in a privileged position, I guess, Charlie, in many ways. Our players are able to have all the equipment they need at home. They're able to afford a top exercise bike or a cross trainer or a treadmill and so on and so forth. We've had some good videos, actually. Owen on his exercise bike, seen Dan James on a treadmill. So they are fortunate in that way that they can have all these modern things to work with.
Yeah, definitely. Some of them were fortunate enough to have it in place already. And then probably the first sort of 2 weeks of the lockdown, that was kind of a big part of what we were doing in terms of contacting players and trying to identify what they needed or what they wanted to maybe enhance what they did at home and enhance that program that we're delivering. So yeah, they're fortunate in that sense. Where the first couple of weeks was certainly getting to grips with ordering equipment or delivering certain things that they might require, or hiring things from the training ground to just try and give them the best sort of service and program possible, so it's not too dissimilar to what they're used to.
One thing that you don't have a control on at home, as you do at the ATC perhaps, is their diet. So, Steve, how much input can you have as a staff into what the players are eating at home?
Again, quite a lot, actually, and we were very quick to try and get this out with the help of our nutritionists, Mark and Tom, who did a great job at the start of the lockdown, or just before it. I mean, a lot of the boys, anyway, have home chefs, which obviously have had to go. It's part of the lockdown. They can't be part of they can't visit the households that they're used to doing. And then we've got, again, a number of young boys that have got no help in that regard. So they all have individual nutritionist programs anyway. That's part of our normal practice. So we just carried those on, but we had to tweak them a little bit because they're not working as hard as they normally do in terms of their training or the games. So their energy intake needs to be less than what they would normally have. We obviously want them to get access to the best quality food to try and replicate what we can provide for them at the club. So we managed to source a number of high quality food suppliers that were prepared to do safe home deliveries for them. We roll that out to the players, and they can basically choose a bespoke Man United hamper or food type package. The nutritionist got the boys on an Instagram page looking at cooking lessons. So a lot of them have started to develop a new skill and get injured in the process, one or two. And also for those that haven't maybe got the facilities to cook at home to that sort of level, or the skills or the motivation to do it for themselves, we've got some high quality ready meals that, again, from suppliers that we use for trips to away games, for example. So hopefully they're not going without the required quality of food. We hope the quantity is right, and we understand obviously that. And we're all probably doing it ourselves. When you're bored, it's easy to comfort eat. But basic rule is, if you don't buy the stuff in the first place, it's not available to just pick. So make the right choices in your shopping, and you're less likely to reach for the wrong thing at the wrong time.
That's a to us all there, I think.
Yeah. The nutritionists are obviously doing a weekly weigh-in as well, so they've got a scheduled weigh-in every Friday morning, with set parameters, just similar to what we do at the club. They can't check their body fat levels, unfortunately, but we'll see what they're like when they get back. But I think
exactly.
Nature will get on top of that, I think.
And Kieran, you're in a unique position in many ways. We're speaking about some of the younger lads, perhaps learning to cook. You, of course, managed them when you were with the 18s, and you've seen them progress from our academy, our hugely successful academy, into the first team. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of them growing up right now, maturing even more, and perhaps learning some new skills.
Yeah, that's been interesting to speak to them on that. I think Angel Gomez is telling me that he's been having regular cooking lessons from his brother. So that's a bit different. And to Heath as well, obviously it's with his mum and dad, but I think he's been chipping in the kitchen a little bit. So yeah, like the doc says, it's maybe a unique time for some of these boys in their lives, because they're so used to the routine of training and playing games and being with a team since they were 5 or 6 years old for some of the boys who've been in our academy. So this longer period of being at home and having to manage their own time, manage their bodies and their minds, and be a little bit more independent in some ways is hopefully a beneficial period for them in some ways.
And you mentioned, Kieran, you've been doing some work on sort of looking at games and things with what you can do anyway. We heard Aaron Wan-Bissaka saying recently he's been watching or re-watching some games from earlier in the season. Is this something you're encouraging the players to do, watch games back and perhaps self-criticise or self-critique? Yeah,
it's something obviously as a staff that we're doing a lot of. That consumes a lot of our time at the moment is watching games back and analysing and reflecting, and it's been a brilliant period for that. For the players, it's really an individual process. So it's like Charlie said, it's how we run the programme on a day-to-day basis, and we try and maintain that. So the players have a big access to all of their games and to all of their training. But it's not something that we force on them. Certainly the players, and especially the more experienced ones at this level, they all have their own reflection processes. They all know how they like to watch training back and watch games back and analyse themselves as players. And say for the boys who've been doing it a bit longer, then processes are really individual and really ingrained. So we support them as best we can. We provide them with they have fantastic resources. Then for those who are a little bit more make more use of the service, they get extra individual clips from training and from games. We'll also target the boys who we know that really value and utilise the video stuff as a big part of their learning. We'll target them. We're currently sending out videos to them individually on things from their own game, or things sometimes even watching other players that they might be able to take. So there's a lot of analysis stuff that you can do and that we are doing, but it's also important that we respect them individually within that and their own preferences, and we tailor the programme to each individual, really.
And Charlie, you mentioned how much work they are doing at home, but in your opinion, when we all do get back to the Aon Training Complex, how much more work will be needed to get match fit, and how far away are they now, would you say?
It's a difficult question, but I think normally we'd work towards a 6 to 7 week sort of pre-season, and that would be enough time for us to be ready for day one and that first game. Typically they'd be coming off the back of an off-season over the summer, which normally be June, where they'd be doing 2 to 3 sessions a week, and then as the last 2 weeks maybe building it up a little bit more. This sort of off-season, if you like, if we're classing this as an off-season, we're potentially doing a little bit more, or we will be doing a little bit more, with periods of rest sort of built in between. But they'll probably be doing up to 3 to 4 sessions a week, sometimes 5, depending on the individual. So you'd like to think we're coming from a higher base, really, when we do get back into that intense sort of training and game period. So we've got to be prepared for whatever's thrown at us, really. I'd like to think that the work that we've done since July in pre-season and the emphasis on our sort of physicality and improvement in that sort of physical performance in games should stand us in good stead for when we do go back and we're prepared for whatever's thrown at us, really.
And just before the lockdown, Kieran, the team was in such good form as well, and fighting on three fronts, doing well in Europa League and FA Cup quarter final with Norwich to look forward to, and challenging for the top four. And we're really seeing the team evolving, and we're getting to the kind of style we want to see, and Ollie and you guys are trying to implement. So that's a frustration that we've had that momentum stopped, isn't it?
In some ways, yeah. Obviously, the few weeks that building up to the lockdown were pleasing, and some of the performances were very good, and the team was playing with confidence and moving in the direction that we wanted to move into. So that's obviously a little bit disappointing, but like the doctor said earlier, it's about taking the positives from it. It's a chance for reflection and analysing, and a chance to have a good training period when we come back. We feel like we've always done well off of the back of a period of training. So I think the break that we had in Marbella, the winter break that was in the league this year, I think that was a big benefit to us. The schedule's been so tight this year with games every 3 or 4 days, with Europa League, and obviously us progressing to a two-legged semi-final in the Carabao and an FA Cup replay as well. So the time in Marbella was really valuable, and we know that when we do return from this break, we're going to have a training block again to work on some principles as a team and hopefully get back into the rhythm really quickly. So yeah, we feel like we're moving in the right direction in certain areas, not just in the few weeks. To be honest, we felt like tactically there's been some things that we've improved on throughout the course of the season, really, that behind the scenes as a staff we can analyse and know that are moving in the right direction. But on top of that, you need results, because that brings confidence and belief, and then some of them elements are easier to see. So I think it's probably a case of that was what was building in the few weeks. It was the confidence that some good results was bringing. That was and was really able to see some of the elements of our style of play coming out. But we feel that that's been building over a longer period of time, and we've managed to put some decent principles in place that should enable us to build on over hopefully more of a long term now.
Yeah, it definitely looks like an exciting future, that's for sure. Some final thoughts, Steve. How much are you looking forward to getting everyone back down there to the Aon Training Complex with you, keeping you company?
Yeah, definitely. I need somebody to talk to now. So yeah, really looking forward to that. I think just to follow on from what Kieran was saying there, as a medic, I felt we were getting a real sort of physical robustness amongst the players as well.
Yeah,
I think we made quite a lot at the beginning of the season, particularly on tour, about how we were trying to improve the athleticism of the squad generally, as individuals, to try and compete a lot more. And obviously that brings with it risks of injury. And we had a few injuries along the way, which is part and parcel of it. But I thought we'd got through that. I think we had a number of players now who were, churning out the games, game after game, every 3-4 days, coping well, still performing with that. And I think as Charlie said, we're coming into this period, I think, in a better situation than maybe an off season, where hopefully we've retained as much of that physical robustness that we can to get through what will be another very intensive period. But yeah, I can't wait to get everybody back. It'll be good to see a few faces.
Definitely. I bet you're looking forward to the return as well, Kieran.
Yeah, absolutely. I say, you become such a habit of going into the training ground early and spending long days there and seeing your colleagues, but also seeing your friends there as well. So we missed that face-to-face interaction, and looking forward to having that again with the staff and the players.
Charlie, what would just before we leave, what would your top tips be for people at home who want to do a bit of fitness work at home themselves?
I think the biggest thing that our players are doing, and what I would suggest, is running. Running's the fundamental thing that all of our boys are doing. So I'd say a nice session that some of the boys have done, one of our longer ones, is maybe some sort of 1 kilometre intervals running, so 4 blocks. So that's one that a lot of our boys do. We've got a bit of a leaderboard going with the sort of fastest 1K times that get posted on the group Instagram. So yeah, 4 1Ks is a nice little running session. I'd give that one a whirl, definitely.
And anything they can do at home as well. We mentioned the Joe Wicks one earlier, sort of a few good exercises for both kids and adults.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff we've been doing really is body weight work, obviously, because of minimal equipment. So yeah, press ups, squats, bridging, plank-based work, a lot of abdominal work. That's in all the players' programs, really, working on them sort of key muscle groups for anyone, but certainly as a footballer, hamstrings, glutes, groins, all that type of work is in there. So it's on our Instagram page. So yeah, plenty of stuff on there.
Definitely to be
Next
checked
Joe
out
Wick,
there.
Charlie. Yeah.
Put him.
Kieran, sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
He'll reinvent himself as the next Joe Wicks.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
you need to grow your hair a bit, Charlie.
I need to grow my beard, and what I have done, I've become a social media guru these last few weeks, posting on Instagram. It's totally new to me. So
you're an expert on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now you are, yeah.
I need a role in the media team next.
Well, the doors are always open for you, Charlie. Kieran, any tips for families? Things to watch. You got, like we said, you're a young family. What have you been doing with them to pass the time and to keep them, keep the kids especially not bored?
Yeah, we're obviously in a fortunate position to have a garden, so not everyone does. But if you have a garden, obviously the weather's been great at the moment, so it's just getting them out there as much as possible. And yeah, mine are 5 and 3, so they've got bundles of energy. So it's trying to find ways to waste that energy as much as possible. So probably our top ones at the moment are Daddy's obstacle courses and the McKenna marathon, which involves them running up lengths of the garden, which they think is a great race. But for Mummy and Daddy, it's a good way to burn up their energy.
Oh, great stuff. And finally, from you, Steve, we are all indebted to the work of key workers around the country, and particularly the amazing people at the NHS. What would you say about them?
Obviously, fantastic. I feel a bit frustrated. I can't help them a little bit at the moment. As a club, we've been trying to help the cause, as you know, and I think I've been doing a bit of work with many people around the club to try and help that. I've got family that work in the NHS. My sister works in the NHS and doing a good job there, and obviously many colleagues from university and jobs in the past. And I think I can't thank them enough for what they're doing. Keep in touch with them, and they're doing fine at the moment. I know we see a lot of negativity on the news, but there's also quite a lot of positivity going on as well. So I think my hat goes off to them, and I just wish I could help out in a bit more of a practical way, but I've got a job to do here that's very important at the moment, so I'll keep doing that.
100%. Well said, Steve. Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. Looking forward to seeing you all back at the training ground very soon. But Charlie, Kieran, Steve, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.